Hello. So I wanted to do a video about mages and like the best non-legendary mages to develop in Wizardry Daphne, and there's actually just 4 of them. And since I had them all, I actually just summoned one of each for this video. But there's Asha, who is a fire mage. There is Flute, the water mage.
Yes, need a lesson on something.
There is Yarmil, the wind mage.
What? Do not call so casually.
And Dino, who is also a wind mage.
Please stop acting friendly with me.
Right, and of those, I'd actually say you do not want to develop Yarmil or Flutes, because they have really good inherits, which is kind of sad for Flute, because Flute's actually really good, but, like, if we went to the training room,
What?
like, if you
Do
go
not
to
call
inherits,
so casually.
let's just turn off everything but mages here. Right, so Flute can give you Meagle, which is a super important spell, like, because this will teach you a single target water spell to any character, and of course you can use other flutes to level this up, and this is one of the main ways your main mage will progress. So Flute is super valuable for inherits. Like, you need to use your flutes for inherits. Like, as much as it pains me, because Flute's super good, we'll talk about why Flute's good. You want to use her for inherits. Same thing with Yarmil. Like, he's not as good. Like, his like I said, he only has 13 IQ base, which is the lowest of these 4. Whereas Flute has 19. But like I said, there's also another wind mage you could use that is just, like I said, I think Dino's just better. He has better passive too, but yeah, so same thing, you always want to use him for inherits. They also get rare inherits, like Flute's rare inherit is Meagle, which is the line version, and Yarmil's is Maferu, so yeah, and super useful. You can use those to teach those spells to other characters, maybe teach them your priest, or just level them up. You know, that's a huge, super important way to like progress your mages. So, you know, Flute and Yarmil, you know, you don't actually want to use them as a character, and this really sucks in the case of Flute, because Flute
Do not call so
has, like I said, she has a base 19. Like, if you were gonna develop summon a Flute, her base IQ is 19, right, which is as high as you can go on a base. And like I said, so it just makes her, like I said, super attractive. She has like perfect stats, just being a water mage. This one even has a +1. This is 20. This is actually a bonus. This would actually be about as perfect of a Flute, because you always want to try to find a +1 IQ. I'll talk about that in a bit, but you always want to try to find one with a +1 IQ over their base. But yeah, this Flute here, though, 28 IQ, plus you get the bonus, you'd probably end up with about 90 IQ at level 60. So she's super, super attractive as an option. It's just you need her to level up Meagle, and if you're using Flute as your main mage, you have to, you need to discipline her, but you also need to level up Meagle, so you just end up needing extra copies of her. I mean, if you still have some ossuary bones, you know, I guess you could make it work if you have some bones, like ossuary bones. You could just go buy a bunch of Flute bones if you were using her to try to get her that way. But, you know, discipline, like unlike other classes, I say mages need discipline the most. So, like I said, and Flute's discipline's super good too. She gets MP and magic power, so the 2 stats you want as a mage, she gets both of them. So again, super good discipline, just super good all around. Unfortunately, you need her for inherits. So, like, to actually talk about Flute's passive. Flute's passive's terrible. Water formation increases damage to fire-type enemies for user and adjacent water-type allies if there are at least 2 water-type allies adjacent to the user, which they already pretty much have. Like I said, she already does extra damage to fire. I mean, he said it's just, but you have to have at least 3 water-type characters in the team to use this. So this passive is completely useless. Not even worth like mentioning. And Yarmil's is pretty much the same thing, except we replace water with wind.
so casually.
Or air. It's now called air formation. They changed the name of some of these things. They said to make it more consistent, but it feels less consistent because we still have the Den of Wind. So, yeah. Let's see, crafty old mage. So this is his inherits. His inherits magic defense and magic power. So he has a pretty decent inherit too. And Flute's was, like I said, Flute has the best the best discipline. Young spell prodigy gets MP and magic power. So you really, like, so Flute, it's hard to, right, you want her to use her, but Unfortunately, you need her for inherits. But Asha, she's a fire mage, which is fine, but should be noted she is the only good aligned mage, right? Which is fine if you're in a good aligned team, but like one of the most popular characters in this game is Alice, the priest, and she's an evil priestess. And one of the things people like about her, she gives a 10% damage bonus to all characters in the line, so long as all the characters in the line are either evil or neutral. So Asha does not play nice with Alice. So if you're using Asha, you're either like just forgoing that ability. If you're using Alice or you're not using Alice, maybe you're using like a different cleric like Marianne or Emil or Galena. Like, well, no, probably she doesn't play nice with Galena either. Galena's the other evil priestess. So yeah, she ends up being kind of awkward. She's also fire type. So the second act of the game is water themed, and being a fire mage puts her at a huge disadvantage. Like, one, everything is water based, so she doesn't do good damage to it, but two, because she's fire type, she takes extra damage from everything. So she has a really rough second act. The third act, it's a bit better for her, but doesn't really have an advantage there either, so she's kind of meh. Her passive's okay. Increases tolerance to poison, paralysis, and stone for user and all adjacent good allies. You have to have at least one good ally adjacent to her for this to activate. But you can buff this to potentially up to 4 characters in your team, like herself and 3 others, if they're all adjacent. 1 in front of her, 1 on either side of her, or like said, something like that. Usually you buff it like 2, but if you have her in a corner, it'd be like the one directly in front of her, one directly next to her. But you just have to have at least one good ally directly next to her somehow to activate this. And her discipline, she gets HP and poison tolerance, right? Not really the best stats, but HP is notable because this does make her, like, she's already human, which again, so she's got a bit more HP already, but this means she's going to be the mage with the most health if you discipline her high, so she will be a bit more tanky, a bit more survivable. So this is actually kind of relevant. Like, mages can be kind of squishy. She's going to be less squishy than other mages just by virtue of her discipline if you get it high enough. I should note that her second class is priest, which is, I think, actually the best secondary class for a mage. And her inherit is Katino. You do want to teach this spell to like your priest, and you probably want to level this up a couple times on your main mage, but it's not nearly as critically important as leveling up Megal or Feru. So you can definitely, like I said, so it's not too big of a deal if you don't use this for inherit, like I said, so you can definitely use her to discipline herself and get her to a high discipline level if you're using her. And this also, let's go talk about Dino now, who is, I think, probably the one I would recommend of these guys, right? So Dino is, like Yarmil, is a wind type mage, but like unlike the other mage, he actually has a decent passive. His passive is Magical Bean Knowledge, increases damage to magical beans and decreases damage from magical beans, right? This is actually relevant. So magical beans, like, those are the enemies, like the gas clouds, the slime blobs, the flying sword enemies, like the entity shard enemies. Like, they're not the most common enemies, but there are, like, you will find them in like various places in the game. Not so much the third act, but you will see them sometimes the first and second act and some of the dens and stuff, and some of the other events. But so this is actually an ability that actually does something, right? Like I said, so I think this is actually an okay ability. You know, it's not as good, not as relevant, like I said, as something like Undead Slayer or Beast Slayer, but this one's still pretty solid. So he has a decent passive. He's wind type. Like I said, there's a lot of earth type enemies in the third act, so wind is pretty good, but also as a secondary, he learns earth spells. So he gets Erlich and Marlich, which is super good in the second act. The second act is water themed, as I said, right? Which means all the enemies are weak to earth. So he can get elemental advantage naturally against a lot of enemies in the second act. So he's very good from that perspective. His discipline's not particularly great though. He gets detect and fear tolerance. Detect's okay. His secondary is a thief. Like, if you ever make him a thief, he will have you know, good detect. Like, that's one thing thieves lack for opening chests, is their detect's kind of bad. So he would definitely, you know, do a bit better that way just by having an extra detect. And fear tolerance is always good on a spellcaster, because if you get hit with fear, you can't cast spells. So fear tolerance is actually fine. It's not, like I said, it's not Flute or Yarmil get the extra magic attack with the discipline, but, you know, you need Flute and Yarmil for their inherit, so it's kind of hard to recommend them. So, you know, super good. I'd say he's probably the best of those 4, but I think the one you actually should use is, I actually think you should use Elf Mag, and I'm going to explain why. Right, so Elf Mag, from what I said, is just like Flute, is like also has pretty much perfect stats. Like I said, the Dark has gets +2. Like I said, Dark water types get +2 to IQ. So does Dark. Dark gets +2 IQ, +1 luck, and water gets +2 IQ, and I think 1 in piety. I think that's right. If I remember correctly, we can actually just check here. So what she got? She got, yeah, 13 piety. So yeah, it gets the +1 in piety. Yeah, so water gets an extra piety, or maybe it's even 2 extra piety. Right, but water is like I said, so you get piety versus, like I said, versus luck. So Elf Mag though, they both get the 19 IQ. So this is, like I said, probably the one you want to do, just because, one, I would just count, like I said, this is an account I have spent nothing on ever. And how many Elf Mags we got? Well, we got, actually, we can even make this easier. Turn these all off. So, oh, and Earth too, turn that one off, because that brings up, so look at all these Elf Mags. I have 16 copies of Elf Mag on this account, and I have not spent a single dime on this, so you end up with a lot of discipline. As I mentioned earlier, discipline is super important for mages, because you're kind of squishy, and this one, you see this one has a +1 IQ. This is actually super important too, like IQ, so this +1 on IQ gets you, right, it's not just a +1 at creation, it's also an extra +1 at level 30, an extra +1 at level 40, an extra +1 at level 50, and an extra +1 at level 60, and, you know, if they raise the level cap again, we assume that pattern will continue, so it's at least an extra 5 points into that stat. It also seems that you just seem to get more level ups in this one in general. Like on my main account, I did one like this with 20 IQ, and I had 8 bonus points, put them all into IQ. She has 91 IQ at level 60, right? 91 is huge, right? So it's because you get so many of them. Like I said, I mean, mages, they only need 1 stat. All these other stats don't really matter that much for mages. The only stat that matters is IQ, right? Because the one thing they said, right, IQ is just that. That's everything. Also, this is what increases your magic power. It also seems to have a minor effect on your MP. Like the more IQ you got, the more MP you get. Yeah, so let's see. Do we have another one with a better bonus, maybe on +20? We have some better bonus. You want, like I said, we do want that +20 at creation. Yeah, we're just gonna go here just so we can look at her here. We're just gonna go register this one here. Let's see, for the video. There you go. There you go. Oh, fine. Too long. Fine. There you go. For the video. Alright, so.
Who's going to be in your party?
Where is she? Yeah, so this is the one I think you should have in your team. Because like I said, right, because you can fish, because you get more of them, you can fish for the one with perfect stats. You can fish, wait till you get a +20. But also if you're gonna go discipline, like discipline is super important. If we're gonna discipline here, we can already discipline her to like rank 3 probably, or rank 4. Okay, maybe not quite. So we could go to rank 2 already. Right, like, no, wait, we can go rank 3. We have enough for rank 3. Yeah, we have enough for rank 3, so we have enough to discipline her to rank 3. She does need more per rank to discipline than others, but you get so many of them. It kind of makes, like I said, she is by far the easiest mage to max discipline. Like, in discipline, super important because it's the best, like I said, because discipline, every time you discipline, you get extra HP, MP, and SP. It is most reliable way to raise those stats, and, mages, like, you need all the MP you can get, you need all the HP you can get because they're fragile. But like if we went to any of these others, like if we went just with what we got here, discipline, so we can discipline her to rank 2. That's not too bad. But I doubt we could discipline any of these above rank 2.
What?
Oh, that's me. We don't need, I can't discipline. No discipline for me.
Yes? Need a
Oh,
lesson on
discipline.
something?
So we could get her to rank 2, but only, like I said, yeah, we wouldn't have enough to take anyone else above rank 2. Whereas we have enough to take Elf Mag all the way to rank 3 already. And as you go further in the game, you will get more that you can do. She doesn't really have a passive. Her passive is actually just passive magic power up innate, so she gets extra magic power as her passive, which is better than water formation or wind formation, which pretty much does nothing. And her discipline, she actually gets magic power with her discipline, which is, again, like Asha and Dino don't. So she ends up with just pretty solid magic power. Magic power 31. She has 40 magic power.
Friendly with me.
See, yeah, it's her IQ is higher. Yarmil, his magic power is 26. Flute has 35 magic power with 26 IQ.
What?
Right, 29. So, yeah, so look at that. 40 magic power with 27 IQ. She has 4 more magic power versus Flute, like I said. So I think her passive gives probably gives about 2 or 3 points, which is not a lot, but every point helps. Like I said, at least it does something. Yeah, so she's super solid. But the other thing is that she is dark type, right? Dark type means, well, she doesn't learn a secondary type of spell. She only learns dark spells, but, right, like, she doesn't have a penalty. If you teach her Faru or Meagle, right, she won't cast them at a penalty. Like, right, with you, like, if you teach, like, say, Faru to Yekaterina being weak to wind will always cast those wind spells at a penalty. Dark and light don't play by the same rules. Like a dark mage or a light mage, if you teach them a different spell, they don't have a penalty to it, right? If I teach dark mage Badios, a light spell like Badios, they cast it at full power. It is harder to level up their main spell because you don't see spell books for these ones as often. There's nothing to inherit, but you can't, like I said, but you can still inherit Meagle and Pharaoh on them just fine. And when you get to 55, she also starts taking less damage from dark magic spells, which is probably the best of the elemental resists, because dark magic's really commonly used by enemies. Yeah, like I said, but I think she's the one to do, just because, right, her inherit, she doesn't really have much of an inherit. Her inherit raises magic power by like 1 point, and like I said, the first couple ranks aren't too bad, but as you put more of them into it, it takes longer and longer. You need more and more to do that. Right, so gosh, we have a lot of these. But yeah, the first one, it only takes 1, but then the second one is 2. Right, each rank is about 1 point of magic power. It scales up really quickly, and you're just better off like just using these to max out Elf Mag, like I said. Because the discipline, the best mage is the one you can discipline highly. Like I said, because you get so many of them, you can just wait till you get one with good stats before summoning them. Especially since you don't need a mage in the early game. Like, the mages are not good in the beginning of this. The mages are something you use in the second acts and later of the game. But for the beginning of this, you probably don't even want a mage at all. This is more like a later game theme. Oh wait, no, you just wanted to turn on the elements. But we're talking about, oh, we don't want a priest here. But yeah, like I said, right, part of the other thing, though, is, like, you want to get mages with good stats. Like I said, Katarina's base IQ is 14, and because she's legendary, you won't see too many, right? So, ideally, you'd get a Yekaterina who started with 15 IQ, because to get those bonuses, and that would be really hard. Whereas Elf Mag, you can always guarantee you get a plus 20. You know, you might get lucky on some of these others, like, Asha, her base is 14, you want to find one with 15. Right, Dino's, he's 16. Right, Dino's base is 16. You'd want to find one of 17, which I think I actually have on this account. Where's my other Dino?
Please stop acting friendly with me.
See, this one has a plus 17 and 8 bonus points. So this is actually a pretty good Dino. If you're going to use Dino, this would be a good one. Because you always want to go with that plus 1 IQ. Super important because it's just like getting IQ is super important. The other reason you want high IQ is sometimes like sometimes you'll see a skill, it'll say magic plus %, right? And there'll also be like, or magic plus a solid number, or magic plus %, right? So magic plus % does not get better than magic plus solid number until you get to 80 IQ. Right, with the way the rounding works, that becomes better at 80 IQ. So 80 IQ is kind of like a break point. So this other part of the reason why it's super important to get that plus 1, is because it's really hard to hit 80 IQ at level 60 if you don't get that plus 1 at creation and don't put all your points into IQ. On my main account, I use 2 mages. I have Elf Mag Discipline rank 9, she has 91 IQ. The other mage I use is Kathrine. She did not get a +1 at creation, and she only has 68 IQ, right? And it's like, it really holds her back. Like, so just even by raw stat difference, they're like a difference of like 27 magic power, but because of the pluses, like the elf mag actually gets a much better bonus from the mag percent bonuses. Ends up being more, like I said, ends up being a much more significant gap in their magic power. So you want to try to get to that 80 IQ by level 60. So you definitely need to get that +1. And here's, like I said, I'm just gonna show it on the screen, like all the mages, like what their base is and what their +1 is, right? So Asha, her base is 14, you want to try to find with 15. Dino, 16, you want to find with 17. Flute's base is 19, you want to find with 20. Yarmil's base is 13, you'd want to find with 14. And of course, Elf Mag is 19, you'd want to find with 20. And then the same thing with like the legendary mages. Adam is 16, and you'd want to find with 17. Sheila Ryanak, her base is 19, you'd want to find one 20. Yekaterina's base is 14, you would want to find one 15 before summoning them, like ideally. And then there's also a number of other classes who can be, number of characters could be mages. Probably most relevant is priest, because that's priest into mage is probably the best, like said, the best like kind of secondary class. But Alice, her base is 18. If you get one with 19, that would be ideal. But also, like, this is like all these characters who could become mages. Like, you probably actually just want to put all your IQ points up, all your points into IQ. Like on my main account, I did not do this. I did not know this, but if I would build my Alice now, like it's way too late. We're like discipline rank 5 up. If I built my Alice now, I would have put all of her starting points into IQ, and also probably would have tried waiting to try to find one with that +1 IQ to start, like said, because it's just like mage Alice. Like said, Alice can become a mage, right? Like said, which just probably makes her better. But like, you know, generally any character can become a mage. Mage is such a major, you know, like a character becomes a mage. Mage is probably going to be their final class. So it's just like said, you know, so you probably would kind of keep this in mind for all these characters to become mages. If you plan on using them, try to get one with a +1 IQ and try to put all your points in IQ for those characters. So Alice, 18, you want one with 19. Emil is 15, you'd want to find one with 16. Marianne is 13, you'd want to find one with 14. And then the other characters who can become mages are Elda, right, and Eldorado. They're both dark type. Their base is 16, and you'd want to find with 17. There's Jean. His base is 11. You'd want to find one with 12. Super important for Jean, because holy crap, his IQ is terrible. And then there's Milana, whose base is 17. You'd want to find with 18. Milana is probably the best of these ones here, just because, like I said, she's an elf, right? She has really good IQ, but also she's a thief as her second, which is just a better one. Yeah, pretty much I'd say Milana or the mages or the priests are going to be your best proto mages. But yeah, pretty much all these other characters, they're pretty much proto mages. But so you just, like I said, if you plan on using them, I honestly just recommend, you know, try to find it with that +1 IQ and then putting on your points to IQ creation. Wouldn't recommend doing Elda though, for the reason I stated in my fighters video. But yeah, that should do it. So this was a lot longer video than I planned. By this one, I said a lot more to cover in this one. And I just think, like I said, it's important to talk about like why I recommend Elf Mag as the best mage. But Dino's also a pretty good alternative, like I said. Or like I said, try to get a Yekaterina. Yekaterina is probably going to be the best mage for most people if you can get her. But again, try to get one with that +1 IQ. Anyway, if you want to see my previous video I did on like this, on thieves, you can find that one down below. As always, thank you for watching.